If you have ever bought art or an artist proof from Magic the Gathering, God, that was weird, wasn't it? Anyway, like I was saying, if you have bought art or artist proofs, today's guest, Mark Aronowitz, is a name you've likely heard before. But what you may not have heard is how he got started as an agent to many Magic the Gathering artists. See what I did there? Or his plethora of anecdotes about them. Well, fear not, dear viewers, as I shall fix that problem for you with the following interview. Well, I appreciate you taking time to do this today.
Hey, no problem.
Okay, so I guess starting off, when did you first become involved with Magic the Gathering as a player?
Oh, geez. Let's see. I owned a store. It was a comic book store. And somebody had come into the store with these cards to show me. And he asked me, do I want to learn how to play? I said, sure, okay. So we played and I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. And my brother-in-law then picked up two revised decks. Back then they were just random decks. And he and I started playing on my living room table. And 5 hours later, we were totally addicted. And the next day I went into the store and I called my distributor and I said, okay, I'm confused. I don't know what to order. I see there's Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, Revised, Arabian Nights, Legends, Antiquities. What do I order? And he goes, it's real easy. You can't order any of that because it's all sold out except for Revised. You can get Revised. And it was 2 weeks before the Dark came out.
Wow.
So that's when I started. And then John, my brother-in-law John, played or worked at the store with me. So he and I were so addicted, we'd play every day. So when all the comic book customers would come in, they'd say, oh, what are you doing? And we'd explain to them and we'd show them all how to play. And then I converted, over the years, hundreds of players. I taught literally hundreds of players to play at my store.
That's awesome. And so then the store is what brought on you getting involved with the creation of, or what we today we know as artist proofs. You were not the first person to create them. That was just for my first, but you were sort of the one of the pioneers that kind of taught artists how to use them for their benefit, right?
Well, when I first, started, I had heard about them and I saw them, and you know, artists really didn't promote them. They didn't really know what to use them for. And then I went to a comic convention in Manhattan, and I met Ray Lago, and he had some, and I bought the set, and they were cheap. They were like I don't know, $2 a piece or something like that back then, and they were just signed, and he signed them in the back also. And then I forget who the first person was. It might have been Brahm. I met Brahm. I was buying a lot of art from him, and he gave me a bunch of proofs. And then he drew this like kind of funny skull on the back of each one, and I'm like, that's a damn good idea. So then I started asking artists from that point on, can you do drawings? But back then, most of the artists, Donato did like 20 of them for me, and he didn't charge, and they were quick drawings. Which, a funny story, later on, he ended up buying my last one back, and I was like, Donato, why did you buy this on eBay from me? He said, because I didn't want people seeing the crummy drawing that I drew on it. Because in the beginning, people, they were just doing these quick, real quick drawings on them. They didn't realize that, whoa, you mean I could charge good money for these? And that developed over time. I can't say I definitely was one of the first asked, I think, but I definitely didn't create the idea of putting drawings on the back. And they just got better and better. And I think a lot of with artists, there's a lot of one-upmanship. So if they see, oh, this guy did this, I got to do better. I got to do better than him.
But didn't you say that Dan Fraser? I'm sorry.
And
Go on.
then it developed into doing color pieces. And now, as you see, that there's these amazing paintings being done.
But didn't you get? Wasn't it? I thought you'd said that Dan Fraser was had came to a signing, and that's how you discovered what artist proofs were, but they weren't. You said he wasn't drawing on them.
No, 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 no.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
when Dan came to my store for the first time, he had done on the backs the moxes. He did sets of moxes, and he did them using marker, so they were color. But of course, he was charging ludicrously too cheap for what he was doing. He was giving 5 proofs with drawings on them for next to nothing. But I didn't get the idea from them. That had already occurred. He was already
Okay.
doing that before he met me.
Okay. So then, how did you make the first steps into becoming such a like a prominent agent for the artist proofs? What was the impetus for that?
Well, it started as I became an agent for an artist, and that started with Dan. The first
Okay.
artist I had at the store was R.K. Post, and he was doing drawings on them already, not nearly like the quality that he ended up doing. Like his supreme top level now, is phenomenal. I had bought Jessica Warrior Adept the painting from him, and he gave me a proof number one because he'd give the number one proof because he numbered them to the person who bought the painting, and then he do a little quick head sketch on the back. But then when Dan came to sign, and I saw what he could do on the proofs, I was like, hey, proofs. This is a sub market of Magic that needs to be really promoted. And that's when I went heavy into proofs, and I started ordering proofs from a ton of artists. And the biggest proof order was probably Ron Spencer at the time. I placed an order for almost 400 proofs from him.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
That's
I
a
don't
lot.
have anything
That's a
left.
lot.
I've sold them all since. In the beginning, he didn't want to do it because it was such a big job. But the story is his septic tanks in the back. I don't know if you're familiar with. They're underground in your backyard. It's when
Oh
you don't have a
yeah.
sewer system. They do septic system. It exploded. Sometimes if you don't take care
Oh.
of it, it explodes and you literally have poop all over your backyard. So I get a
Hmm.
call from Ron that day. He said, Mark, you know what? Here's what happened to me. I need money. I'll do that. So that took 3 years to complete. And originally those were going to be done all with black and white drawings. But in talking with him, I found out he played hero clicks with his sons, and he needed a whole bunch of hero clicks. So he traded me as a store. We sold singles. So he upgraded any hero click I would send him. He'd upgrade a black and white to a color to where I had almost 200 colors.
Wow.
And he put this up on his blog later on about he didn't mention me by name, but he did mention it was the largest sale ever done with proofs. And that was it. And, just kept getting bigger and bigger. And every artist I worked with, a lot of them really casually don't care about the proofs. I had to teach them, well, no, this is a viable money source that you can use these proofs. But I found over the last year and a half since COVID,
Hmm.
most of the current artists are busier than ever. Wizards is producing more cards.
Yeah.
So their time that they have to do the proofs is less than it was. You would think, well, now they're home, they're not doing shows and everything, they should have more time. But it's actually getting more difficult to get a lot of them to do the art in the back of proofs because they simply don't have the time.
Do you think that it's like, I mean, it's great for the game, but from an artist standpoint, do you feel that it's too taxing, or do you feel like there might be some detriment to what's going on with the growth of the game?
Oh no, I think it's fine. They just can't do nearly as many as or the wait could be 6 to 9 months as opposed to I'll do it in 2 or 3 weeks. I think some artists at events before tended to take orders up front and then not have time to fulfill them for long periods of time. And then of course the customer is like, well, I paid you a year and a half ago and you haven't done it, and that piles up, and then the artist feels bad, and then they end up ghosting the guy because
Ooh.
they don't know what to tell him. Look, I don't have time to do this, and it's all backed up.
and then that's definitely not good.
No,
Not
no,
good at
no.
all.
It's definitely not. No, it's definitely not. And I
Um,
think this has led to the price increase, because
I
in
see.
order to make it worthwhile for the artist to sit down and say, look, I'm going to take a day and knock out these 15 proofs, they have to be able to earn what they would have if they would have been painting.
Mhm.
So they can't do it for $15, $20 anymore. That's where you're getting 75, 85, $90 do it. And now suddenly now the artists are, well, you know what? It's worth my time to do them now.
Right. I mean, and when was it that they were doing them that cheap? I mean, how long ago was that?
It's not that long. I mean, four or 5 years ago, you
Really?
know, you, 20, yeah, $20 for a sketch, $25 for a sketch.
That's incredible because I started playing in 2019, and so that was probably right around when they started to, kind of
Bump
take
the
off.
price. Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
crazy. That's crazy that like 2 years before that you could get them for 20 something dollars. If like
20, $25. Yeah, for sketches.
from like Donato.
No, Donato. Well, Donato didn't want to do them.
Oh,
I convinced Donato to do them again. It took me a few years
really?
to.
Well,
Yeah, he
that's
didn't want to
amazing.
do them because he didn't like I said, he didn't charge me for ones. I was at his house, and I had bought a lot of artwork, and he pulled out about 20 proofs, and he was just did 20 quick sketches on them, as a gift, as a thank you. And then I had asked him, over the years, I'd like a couple more. He said, I don't want to do sketches on them. He was like, you could commission me to do a sketch, but not on a proof. He didn't want them that small. And I'd been after him, and then I guess it was about 2 years ago, maybe. He asked me, hey, I heard you're doing GP Hartford. He was going to be in the area, you know, should he do it? And I said, sure. So we were sitting together. It was me, Donato, and then Brian Wackwitz. And then Donato plays a wise ass joke with me. He pulls out a proof. He goes, you want a proof for the drawing? All right. He does it. He draws like a dwarf on this, and I thought it was pretty good. And then I'm going to take it from him, and he hands it to Brian, and then he won't let go. And then Brian and him, they planned it. They ripped it in half.
Oh,
I ended up
oh,
selling that to somebody at the event, but
oh.
but I finally convinced him. I have to talk to him. He said, I have to find something where he didn't like the sketches, doing the sketches on it, but he did like. He saw Nils hand how Nils paints on the backs,
Mhm.
and he really liked that. He said, let me see if I can come out with a way that I can do sketches at in a reasonable amount of time, painting them. And he really
Um,
liked that. And then all of a sudden you saw about a year and a half ago or a year ago, all of a sudden he went nuts and he started putting them all up for auction. And he did a Sarah for me as a gift to thank me.
it's true. I mean, I actually have one of his here that I will be revealing later, and his stuff is insane. I mean, some of the stuff that these people do is crazy. It's like the Ten Commandments on the head of a like a pin
On a
almost.
pin, yeah, yeah.
What would be some of your personally that you've seen in your career, and hopefully maybe you have photos of these that along the way if you did, but who were some of the like most beautiful artist proofs that you've seen by like
To
individual
me,
artists?
Wayne England and Ron Spencer, bar none, do the best proofs.
And why do you think? What is your like? Why does that make it so for you? What do you think it is about their proofs that makes
Just
them?
the quality and the colors are fantastic. It's unfortunate we lost Wayne,
Yeah.
a few years ago, but their quality was just absolutely phenomenal. But there's a ton of artists who are doing like repaints,
Hmm.
of their older work, and they look fantastic, especially like in the oil paints and everything like that. But Spencer and Wayne were doing these, you know, Spencer was doing this almost 20 years ago. The quality that he's doing now.
Wow. And he was selling them for like really seriously for like.
No, he wasn't selling. He was never cheap.
Okay.
He
All
was
right. Okay.
selling proofs on eBay as well as prints back then, and they were for the time compared to everyone else. They were very pricey.
You are a large collector of art. I wanted to, and I obviously behind you is the great collection. What was the first Magic the Gathering piece that you purchased?
Oh wow.
Do you remember that one?
Well, I'd have to say it's either Jessica Warrior Adept or Goblin King by Ron Spears.
Mm.
It's either that or the Arcade Post. It's tough to say for sure. My wife bought Jessica for me as a birthday present, but it was one of those kind of presents where I picked it out and said, "Randy, I want this," and my wife paid.
Right, sort of like where you go shopping for a ring, but you're like, just help me.
Yes,
Like, yes, exactly.
yes, exactly. When I would go shopping for my wife for a present, I'd say, "Write me a list," because I have no freaking clue what you want.
Yeah, exactly. What's the most recent one that you've purchased?
Oh, I got the Black Pegasus, the Dark Pegasus, that from Jason Engel.
Oh wow, that's awesome. And so I mean,
And then I got the Golgari signet from Dan as a present.
what? Wow, that's awesome. The Golgari signet is a present. Have you gotten other presents before? You
All
told
the
me a good
time.
story. Okay, so Dish, give me a couple of good surprise stories. I love it.
I get gifts, or I get good deals a lot. I'm very close with many of the artists, and they're very appreciative of the sales that I do for them. So it is very common for something, to show up. Mark, don't worry about it. I really appreciate it. I know one of my favorite stories is I was doing a Grand Prix in Birmingham in England with Volkenbaga and with Dan Frazier, and RK Post was next to us in the next booth. And there's a thing with RK Post. He is always the first person to get to an event every morning, and he is the last person to leave. Like the door's gonna bump him on the ass leaving, where everyone else, we're all trying to get out so we can meet for dinner and everything. RK won't do that. The only time he'll get RK to go to dinner is if it's Sunday night after the show and he couldn't get a flight Sunday night. He's not leaving until Monday.
So
So
he doesn't not much
it
of a
was a
socializer.
running, yeah, it was a running kind of gag with me trying to say, I'm trying to stay. I've given up, Randy. I said, I've given up trying to beat you here because I will never get here at 7 a.m. But I do think I can maybe stay longer than you at one time. So we were doing GP Birmingham, and we were staying, and we had almost sold out of everything. I sold like 200 play mats for Dan Frazier and probably about
Wow.
100 for Vulcan. And Vulcan had brought a painting that you would love and have seen.
Yes.
We'll go over by it. Every time when Vulcan and I would do a show, he'd bring a painting with him, that we would try and sell. So we got this babe. You know her, right?
I absolutely do. I'm just trying not to talk because when I do, it cuts the image off. So
Okay.
cool. So cool.
So we had that, and normally we usually end up selling the painting, but no one bought this painting at the show.
What?
So
Ugh, madness. Madness.
yeah, so we're packing up, and Vulcan was like, "Oh man, I don't want to have to take this with me." So I said, "Well, you know what? I'll buy it, Vulcan." And he's like, "You know what? Forget it. It's a gift." So
Wow.
I was so happy about it that I didn't go to pack. I packed up right away, and I said, "Okay, Randy, you win," because I was almost beating him. He was packing up his tokens, and I was like, "I'm going to be here later than you." But I was so excited about getting the painting that I forfeited the match to Randy, and he
Yeah,
got to stay later than I did.
you're like, I need to get out of here and get this thing home. Like, my precious, my precious. That's awesome. That is so cool. And I guess like for like if anybody who's looking to get an artist proof, what's like the range that they can expect to pay, and what would be what would be like some of the sort of
Well,
starter suggestions if somebody was doing that?
they're there are artists who will sell their proofs, non-foil proofs for I've seen as low as $2-3 a piece,
Hmm.
and then maybe a quick sketch for. Still, there are a couple guys out there who will do a quick sketch for $20 or whatever, $25. I think I saw Burdett. I don't think it's Chris Burdett. I
I
think
think so.
he put up a thing with a link that had he didn't sell. Somebody didn't pay for some proofs or something like that, and he put a link to where they were, and I checked it out, and I was like, they were dirt cheap. And I was like, and then I looked, and that's his normal prices. So you can still find, you know, relatively cheap. But if you want, if you want the big time, the good cards, of course, the good cards are more pricey. They're always priced based on usually the card price.
The popularity of it and such.
Yeah, the popularity of the card. Yeah, yeah. And then as quantities run out from the artists, it's normal that they'll raise the price. You can't say, oh well, 3 months ago you had that card for $25. Why is it 75 now? Because he may only have 3 or 4 left, or she may only have 3 or 4 left.
I gotcha. And I just wonder because you do have some incredible stuff. Do you still have any of your old revised cards?
Uh, Proofs or non-proofs?
Well, I guess both. But were there any proofs during revised? When did they first? I thought it was
Yes,
Ice Age.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There were revised proofs. Sure, there's proofs. There was proofs for beta, but that didn't come out when beta came out.
I
That came
see.
out when they
Okay.
were making the collector sets. But
Ah,
yeah, there
okay.
were revised proofs. But back in Revive, when I didn't even know what proofs were back then. Oh, I have some cards. I don't have a lot of regular cards left. When I sold the store, I had sold most of what we had. I have some. I mean, I'm sure I have a few thousand cards in card boxes that I haven't looked at in ages. I know some of them went up pretty decent because I got some betas and some Arabian Nights and antiquities. Not a lot,
Mark, but
but now
some.
the prices have gone up astronomically.
You should go check that out. I mean, I insist. The mind reels. But you could have something in
No,
there.
I don't have. There's nothing huge in there. I've sold all. There's no power or nothing like that. Or I think maybe I have one City of Brass, and that's probably the most pricey card that I have.
Oh, that's terrible. Only one
Because
city of
I got
brass.
out of the cards, I
You
moved
did?
into the art.
Okay. Well, so you don't do you don't play regularly, or do you
No,
indulge?
I do play Arena.
You do. You
Yeah,
do. Oh,
because
well,
Arena is awesome. Before I go to bed, a lot of times I'll log on and I'll play 2 or 3 games, but I usually play only against the computer.
oh, okay. Really? Like just
Yeah,
the. Oh, well, you know what? After this, I'm gonna get your arena thing, and we're gonna challenge each other. And
I wouldn't even know how to play a person.
oh, I'm a person. It's cool. It's fun because then that way you can actually like you can chat with each other and you can talk
Yeah,
during it. It's funsies. I'm gonna get you
yeah.
hooked, get you back into Magic
That's
again.
usually that's above my pay grade.
Oh, stop,
I
stop.
just like getting in like a quick game or two every once in a while, and then I go to bed. But I've been so busy with all the art auctions for the last 3 months. I haven't played Arena probably in 5 months.
What was the last piece that you just sold? I mean, what was the most recent one you sold?
Yesterday,
Yeah, what was that? What was that one?
I sold 2 pages from a Kev Walker preview comic for Macadian Mask, and it was owned by Brian Snowdy.
Oh,
It's an 8-page story. I'm selling all 8 pages. 2 pages last night, 2 tonight, 2 tomorrow, and 2 Wednesday. I sold a sketch from Dak and Blackblade, well, not Dak and Shadow Slayer,
uh-huh.
from Richard King Ferguson, and a Dave Kendall sketch.
Is it gauche to ask what the biggest sale was for you? Because I just kind of love this stuff. I
No,
love.
it was relatively recent. I had the record about, I guess, 2.5 months ago was 65,000, which was the sale of Force of Will. Now this is for a new card coming out because
Right. This
Demonic Tutor sold like 100 and something 80,000 or something like that. The
now this
original,
was this, and you're talking about the Force Will that you're talking about is the one that was done for Double Masters.
the new one, Fisher did the
Okay.
art. Yeah, and then I sold Chris Ron's Tiamat for 65,000, tying the record.
That's insane. That's
But
so
then,
crazy cool.
but then about a month later, Drizzt got spoiled, and I sold Drizzt for $155,000, shattering any record that was even anywhere near it.
Wow, is that what? I mean, damn. I mean, like, what do you know? What the most expensive Magic painting ever sold was? Then, I mean, because
Well,
that's incredible.
the most expensive one that's on record is the Demonic Tutor. It was sold like through Heritage Auctions, but I'm sure there are probably higher ones that were done privately of other alpha cards.
Right. Like, I'd imagine the Black Lotus is probably what, 80 gajillion?
I would think that if anything's going to go for $1 million, it would be the Lotus. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's insane. Well, is there anything else that you would like to talk about before I let you go for the day? Anything you'd like to plug as far as upcoming sales and stuff like that?
Well, a big thing, I don't know if you know, that one of my main businesses is a card signing service.
Okay, all right.
I get cards signed, group signings for over 100 different Magic artists.
Right.
So people from all over the world send me their cards, and then once or twice a year, we send them in bulk to the artist. And the artist signs them, sends it back to me to send back to all over the world. That's a main part of our business that's constantly going, as opposed to the original art sales, because I sell original art for about 15 to 25 artists, depending on the set.
Right. I mean, so people can just go to the Facebook group to get information about that. Okay.
Yeah, I have the Facebook group is Mark's Artist Signature Service and Other Elves and Goblins.
And is there like a list of artists that you have that people can scroll through?
On the pinned announcement on top, it's got all the artists, the dates that the cards are due, the cost per signature.
And you can search for stuff too, I just learned.
Yes. If you plug in an artist's name, every incident where that artist's name is mentioned will pop up.
It's it's always fun to search for the Russian ones, since I misspell those like 15 times before I get it right. Yeah, it's always a treat for me to realize that I finished say an image of someone's name and I'm like, oh my God.
Well, I get that. I'm a terrible speller. Spell check is phenomenal for me. I love it.
Yeah. Except for me, I'm getting a little tired of my iPhone changing something to duck when I'm, obviously not trying to say duck. It just, after a while, I figure I'm an adult. I should be able to say what I want to.
Yeah. Well, I get a kick out of when I try and spell a word and I'm so far off that spell check doesn't work. Like it's like it gives me like these 10 choices and none of them are the word that I'm trying to spell. And I'm like, am I that horrible that I can't even get close enough to the word that they know what I'm trying to say?
Or like when you're trying to write chocolate and for whatever reason the phone changes it to like diaphanous and you're like, what the? I didn't. It doesn't make. I'm literally not even close. But I digress. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. It was great, and I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see how all these images are going to turn out, because you sent me a lot of really cool shots with a lot of cool people.
A lot of pictures of me with the artists. Yes.
Yeah, you're meeting and hanging out with the stars. That's for sure.
No, they hang out with the stars.
Oh, you're right. I can't believe I got that wrong. Yep.
Well, as a funny story, because occasionally it does happen where, especially when we do international shows, I'm sitting with Dan Frazier or Doug Schuler or Vulcan or Nils Ham, and they're the popular guys. But you'll see the person will come over and go, "Oh my God, you're Mark Aronowitz," and we get such a kick at that because a lot of times I've been doing business with a lot of these people for years.
Right.
But we've never met in person. It's, through the internet, through the computer, which is wonderful. It's made the world so much smaller. So it's very exciting when I get to meet some of these people that, I actually here you are. I get to shake the person's hand. So they're
Right.
more excited to see me. They're like, oh, Dan Frazier, I've seen Dan 4 or 5 times, but Mark, this is the first time I've seen you.
Yikes. It's like, sorry.
Oh no, I rub it in.
Oh yeah, you gotta. I mean, like, you gotta, if you shine, you shine.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, thank you so much again for talking to me today.
You're
and
welcome.
I appreciate it.
Take care, man.
Talk to you later.
Well, who else almost died, rose from the dead, and then almost died a second time from that Donato story? I know I did. Alright, something is up. Who has the huevos más grandes to mess with me? They have another thing coming. And I ain't fooling. Are we clear? Good. So until next time, I got a scoop.